Ladies and gentlemen, stop right there. Before you ignore that old 3 pence sitting in your drawer, you need to see this. I'm holding 1952 King George VI, 1960 Queen Elizabeth II, and 1967 Elizabeth II 3 pence coins, and what I'm about to reveal will shock you. One of these years is worth thousands of dollars and collectors are desperately searching for it right now. The question is, do you have the lucky one? Stay with me till the very end because I'm going to show you exactly what to look for. And don't forget to smash that like button and comment below which year you own. Trust me, you don't want to miss this. But before we dive deeper into the 1960s era, let's take a step back in time to where it all began. The historic year of 1952, a pivotal moment that changed British coinage forever. The 1952 3 pence. This isn't just any ordinary coin. This is a piece that marks the end of an era and holds incredible value for collectors worldwide. The 1952 3 pence features King George VI on the obverse side, and on the reverse, you'll see a beautiful design of a crowned portcullis with chains. This coin was minted in the final year of George VI's reign, making it historically significant and highly sought after. Now, here's what makes 1952 absolutely special. King George VI passed away on February 6, 1952, which means coins minted in this year were produced during a very short window. The royal mint was transitioning from George VI to Queen Elizabeth II, and this creates a unique situation in numismatic history. Coins from this transitional period are always more valuable because of their limited production time and historical significance. If you have a 1952 3 pence in your collection, you're holding the last year of George VI's coinage. Let's talk about the composition and what you should be looking for. The 1952 3 pence was made of nickel brass, giving it that distinctive 12-sided shape that makes it instantly recognizable. The weight is approximately 6.8 grams, and the diameter is about 21 millimeters across the flats. When examining your coin, check the date clearly. It should read 1952 beneath the king's portrait. The condition matters tremendously here, so look for sharp details on the portrait and minimal wear on the high points. The mintage numbers for 1952 are particularly interesting because production was cut short due to the king's death. While exact figures vary depending on the source, the mintage was significantly lower compared to previous years, making surviving specimens more valuable. Coins in uncirculated condition from this year can fetch impressive prices at auction, sometimes reaching hundreds of dollars depending on the grade. Even circulated examples in decent condition hold substantial value compared to common date 3 pence coins. What really drives collectors crazy about the 1952 3 pence is the historical context. This coin represents the end of George VI's reign, a king who led Britain through World War II and the post-war recovery period. Owning this coin is like holding a tangible piece of that history in your hands. Many collectors specifically seek out final year issues because they represent the closing chapter of a monarch's legacy, and the 1952 3 pence is the perfect example of this phenomenon. So if you're checking your collection right now, pay close attention to any 1952 3 pence you might have. Look at the overall condition, check for any mint errors or varieties, and compare it against grading standards online. Even if it's well worn, it still carries premium value over more common dates. Don't forget to drop a comment below telling me if you own this historic piece, and smash that like button if you're learning something new about British coinage today. Now let's move forward in time from George VI's final year to something equally exciting, the 1963 pence under Queen Elizabeth II's reign. This coin represents a completely different era in British numismatics, and trust me, what I'm about to share will change how you look at your old coins forever. The 1963 pence is one of those sleeper hits that many collectors overlook, but those who know the market understand its true potential. The 1960 issue came during a transitional period in British coinage design and production. By this time, Elizabeth II had been on the throne for 8 years, and the Royal Mint was producing coins at full capacity for both domestic use and international circulation. What makes 1960 particularly interesting is the quality of the strikes. Many coins from this year show exceptional detail and sharp reliefs, making high-grade examples absolutely stunning to behold. When you examine a well-preserved 1963 pence, the craftsmanship of the Royal Mint truly shines through. Here's something most people don't realize about the 1963 pence. This was during the height of Britain's pre-decimal coinage system, just 11 years before decimalization would change everything forever. Coins from this period were being heavily circulated, used in everyday transactions from buying newspapers to public transportation. This means that finding a 1963 pence in pristine, uncirculated condition is actually quite challenging because most were used extensively. The survival rate for high-grade specimens is lower than you might expect, which directly impacts their value today. The mintage figures for 1960 tell an interesting story. While production numbers were substantial to meet the demands of a growing economy, not all of these coins survived in collectible condition. Many were lost, damaged, or eventually removed from circulation during the 1971 decimalization, when old coins were withdrawn and melted down. This historical event created a bottleneck in availability, making pre-decimal coins like the 1963 pence increasingly scarce as time goes on. Every year that passes, fewer examples remain in the collector market. What's driving prices up for 1960 specimens right now is the growing international interest in British pre-decimal coinage. Collectors from around the world, especially from Commonwealth countries, the United States, and increasingly from Asia, are actively seeking complete date sets of Elizabeth II 3 pence coins. The 1960 isn't the rarest date by any means, but it's a crucial piece for anyone building a comprehensive collection. This sustained demand keeps values steady and often pushes them higher, particularly for coins graded at MS63 or above. Let me tell you about the varieties and what to watch for with the 1963 pence. While major varieties are rare, there are subtle differences in die states and striking characteristics that advanced collectors pay attention to. Some 1960 coins show fuller detail in the portcullis chains on the reverse, while others might have slight doubling in the date or legends. These minor variations don't drastically affect value for most collectors, but they're fascinating to study and can add a premium for variety hunters. Always examine your coin under good lighting or magnification to catch these details. The condition census for 1963 pence coins is particularly competitive among serious collectors. Auction records show that pristine examples with original mint luster and no contact marks can sell for 10 to 20 times the value of average circulated pieces. We're talking about coins that might seem common at first glance, but in gem condition, they're actually quite scarce. If you've inherited a collection or found old coins in storage, the 1963 pence in uncirculated condition could be hiding significant value that you didn't expect. So here's my advice: go through your collection right now and pull out any 1963 pence coins you have. Check the strike quality, look for original luster, and assess the overall eye appeal. Compare what you have against graded examples online to get a sense of where yours falls in the spectrum. Even mid-grade examples are worth holding onto because the trend for pre-decimal British coins is consistently upward. Moving on from 1960, we now enter one of the most critical years in British coinage history, 1967. This is where things get really interesting, and I need you to pay close attention because the 1967 3 pence holds a special place that many collectors don't fully understand. We're now just 4 years away from decimalization, and the Royal Mint knew massive changes were coming. This context makes the 1967 3 pence incredibly significant for reasons that go far beyond just being another date in the series. The 1967 3 pence represents the twilight years of the traditional British currency system that had existed for centuries. Think about it. This 12-sided coin was being used during a time when Britain was preparing to completely overhaul its monetary system. The government was already planning the transition to decimal currency, and there was uncertainty in the air about which denominations would survive and which would be discontinued. This historical backdrop adds a layer of significance that makes 1967 specimens particularly appealing to collectors who appreciate the story behind the metal. Now here's something that blows most people's minds about 1967. The mintage numbers were substantial because the economy needed these coins for circulation. Yet finding them in top condition today is surprisingly difficult. Why? Because by 1967, these coins were being heavily used in everyday commerce, passed through millions of hands, dropped in vending machines, and subjected to all kinds of wear and tear. The coins that survived in mint state condition were either saved by collectors who had the foresight to preserve them, or they were part of mint sets that were never released into circulation. This scarcity in high grades is what drives values up dramatically. The market dynamics for 1967 3 pence coins have shifted significantly in recent years. While it's not the rarest date in the series, the demand from both British and international collectors has been steadily increasing. What we're seeing is a generational shift where younger collectors are discovering pre-decimal coinage and wanting to own pieces from this historic period. The 1967 date sits in that sweet spot where it's attainable for most collectors, but finding premium examples requires patience and often a willingness to pay competitive prices at auction. Recent sales data shows consistent appreciation, especially for coins graded MS64 and higher. Let's talk about what separates a common 1967 3 pence from a valuable one. Beyond the obvious factors like wear and damage, you need to look at the strike quality and luster. Coins from 1967 can vary quite a bit in how well they were struck at the mint. Some have sharp, crisp details with the portcullis chains clearly defined, while others show weakness in certain areas, particularly in the crown above the portcullis. The best examples will have full, original mint bloom with no signs of cleaning or environmental damage. These are the coins that command premium prices and attract serious bidders when they come to market. Here's a reality check that many sellers don't want to hear. Not every 1967 3 pence is valuable. Heavily circulated examples with significant wear are relatively common and won't fetch big money. However, they still have more value than face value, and they're perfect for beginners building their first collection or for educational purposes. The real money is in the top-tier specimens, but even average examples are worth holding onto because the long-term trend for all pre-decimal British coinage is positive. As these coins become older and more historical, their baseline value continues to creep upward. What makes 1967 particularly interesting from an investment perspective is its position in the timeline. It's late enough in Elizabeth II's early reign to have historical distance, but not so late that everyone was saving them. Compare this to 1970, the final year of 3 pence production, which many people saved specifically because they knew decimalization was coming. The 1967 doesn't have that same level of widespread hoarding, which means fewer high-grade survivors exist than you might expect. This creates opportunities for collectors who are willing to search for quality examples before prices climb even higher. So here's what I want you to do right now. If you have a 1967 3 pence, take it out and really examine it. Look at the strike, assess the luster, check for any damage or cleaning. Compare it to graded examples online and honestly evaluate where yours falls in the quality spectrum. Whether you're keeping it for your collection or considering selling, knowledge is your best friend. And hey, drop a comment below and let me know what condition your 1967 is in. I love hearing from fellow collectors. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe if you want more deep dives into British coinage values and history.